Last year, 28 NBA teams made the biggest mistake of their entire lives. They had the chance to draft Adou Thiero, but instead, 28 of them passed, and the Lakers took him.
It's insane. I mean, head at the rim.
In fact, they saw so much potential in him that they had to trade up not once, but twice, just to get him at the 36th pick, on a roster that just spent $500 million building around Luka Doncic.
Changing hands multiple times. It was once the Nets, then the Timberwolves, and then now the Lakers, and the Lakers used that selection to take Adou Thiero out of Arkansas.
Now, those same 28 teams are deeply regretting their decisions because we just watched a 6'7" wing with a 7-foot wingspan go undefeated for 5 straight Summer League games on the most watched franchise in basketball while averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and nearly 3 assists a night, while the guys they drafted instead are still trying to figure out their role. So how does a second-round pick that nobody cared about before become one of the most important pieces on the most expensive roster in the NBA? To understand why this year's Summer League run means so much more than just numbers, you have to look back at what he and his family went through. And here's the part that none of those 28 teams apparently bothered to look into deeply enough. His father, Almami, came to America in 1999 chasing the basketball dream. He was a massive 6'9" forward and legitimately one of the top high school prospects in the entire country, which landed him a spot playing under John Calipari at Memphis. Back then, his path to the NBA looked inevitable, but then disaster struck his body over and over again. First, he suffered a torn ACL. Then he dealt with dangerous blood clots. And finally, he ended up with a fractured tibia. 3 separate times his body took everything away from him before he ever got the chance to show what he could actually do. He tried to save his career by transferring to the Cane to hold it all together, but he could just not do it. And then the dream died quietly. His mother, Miriam, came a year later. She was a 6'4" star at Oklahoma City University and actually made it to the pros when she got drafted 33rd overall by the Washington Mystics in the 2006 WNBA draft. But the family curse struck again, because severe knee injuries completely ruined her career before she could even reach her prime, meaning he had 2 parents with massive basketball dreams that were both destroyed before they could turn it into something real. The most painful part about all of it is that they had to leave their 2-month-old son with his grandmother in Mali while they tried to make it work in America. They grinded for a full year before they could finally afford to come back for him in 2007, eventually settling down in Pennsylvania to raise him to finish the exact journey they never could. So when draft night came around and the entire family put on matching Lakers caps together, that moment was not just about Adou. That was 2 people watching their unfinished story finally get a second chapter. But getting drafted was not initially guaranteed. Not even close. See, before any of this happened, Adou spent 2 years at Kentucky under John Calipari. Yeah, the same coach who recruited his father at Memphis back in the day. And honestly, those 2 years were frustrating to watch. He averaged 5 points in limited minutes across 45 games and showed flashes of the athleticism that made everyone excited. But he never quite put it all together consistently enough to make the coaching staff hand him real minutes. The tools were obviously there, but the production wasn't matching him yet. So when Calipari made the surprise decision to leave Kentucky for Arkansas, Adou made a decision that said everything about where his head was at. He packed up and followed him. He followed the one coach who believed in him to a completely different program and bet everything on their relationship. The doubters said it was desperation. And honestly, it looked like it from the outside. But what happened next made every single one of those doubters look absolutely ridiculous. Because at Arkansas, everything clicked at once. He led the entire team in scoring at 15.1 points per game, while shooting 54.5% from the field and averaging 1.6 steals a night. The tools that scouts had been questioning for 2 years suddenly started looking like genuine weapons when they were used properly. And Calipari could not stop hyping him to the media.
It weeded itself out. I would tell somebody, just like I did with Maxey and Quickly, if you pass on him, he can come in the league and help you right now because of what he is physically.
But suddenly, out of nowhere, a severe knee injury showed up and forced him to sit out for 10 straight games, which was genuinely terrifying for about 100 different reasons, but mostly because it was the same body part that ended his father's career at Memphis and ruined his mother's WNBA future before it peaked. Of all the things that could go wrong, to be honest, in that moment, it seemed like the family curse was threatening to repeat itself one more time. He came back though, finished the season, and by the time draft night arrived, the Lakers had already decided he was their guy. They actually traded up twice just to grab him at number 36, while every other team passed because they were too scared of his medical history and his outside shooting numbers. Everyone immediately started arguing about whether Los Angeles made a mistake, but the way his rookie season started out made that entire conversation feel incredibly uncomfortable, because in his first NBA season, Adou Thiero played 6 minutes a game. 6 across 25 appearances on the most watched franchise in the entire league. And if you were one of the 28 teams that passed on him, that number probably felt like confirmation that you made the right call. To be fair, he missed his entire first summer league with a left knee injury. Same knee, by the way, but different year. Which meant the first time most people got to see him in a Lakers uniform was during garbage time minutes in meaningless regular season games. Then 3 minutes in the playoffs against OKC before the series ended. That was it. That was year 1. And look, the front offices that passed weren't entirely wrong. 6 minutes a game on a $500 million roster does not exactly scream future rotation piece. The shooting concerns were still there. The injury history was still there. And the questions about whether his game actually translated beyond raw athleticism were still completely up in the air. But here's what those 28 teams completely missed while they were busy feeling vindicated. The Lakers weren't giving him 6 minutes because they stopped believing in him. They were giving him 6 minutes because they had players like LeBron, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves ahead of him on a legitimate championship contender. There's a massive difference between a player who can't earn minutes and a player who just didn't get the chance to yet. So what happens when you finally give a player like that his first real opportunity on the biggest stage in basketball? Well, the Lakers just went undefeated for 5 straight games in this year's Summer League, and Adou Thiero was the reason why. In Game 1 against OKC, he dropped a massive 20 points, threw down 4 separate dunks, including that ridiculous windmill slam in the second quarter. And added 4 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. He finished as a plus 13 with absolutely 0 turnovers in 30 minutes of action. Think about that for a second, because the guy that 28 front offices decided was not even worth a first-round pick just posted a plus 13 with 0 turnovers against one of the most talented young rosters in the league. And here's the part that should genuinely embarrass every single team that passed. That opening game was not a fluke at all, because he came right back the next night and did it again. And then he did it the game after that, and the game after that too. He strung together 4 consecutive double-digit scoring performances, finishing the circuit with 14.1 points, 5.4 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and 2.1 steals per game, while shooting 48.5% from the field across 7 Summer League appearances. Those stats are way higher than what you expect from a second-round pick, and they look exactly like a rotation player's numbers on a serious championship contender. The Clippers game might have been the most telling moment of the entire Summer League, especially considering that a potential transition dunk got flagged as a flagrant foul, which immediately led to a ton of pushing, shoving, and technical fouls flying absolutely everywhere. However, you know what Thiero did? He brushed it off and helped the Lakers win that match anyway, which was their 5th straight victory, by the way. Then came the grand finale, where he went absolutely ballistic on the court. He dropped 18 points while shooting a perfect 6 for 6 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and 3 for 3 from the free throw line. On top of that perfect shooting night, he pulled off 10 rebounds, dished out 3 assists, and grabbed 3 steals to secure a dominant double-double and close out the undefeated run.
That's why they checked him back in. Adou Thiero up to 20 now.
His own words after the season summed up exactly what kind of player we are dealing with.
Just trying to go out there and cause havoc. JJ, he says the things he wants. We need a point of attack ball defender and everything. So just trying to go out there and, be that, try and get the reps and defending and.
That's someone who understands that the Summer League was just the addition, and the real performance is on the way. Now, think about what those 28 teams are watching right now. The player they passed on just helped the Lakers go undefeated for 5 straight games, and finished with a perfect shooting performance in the finale. They passed on him because of shooting concerns and injury history, and he spent the entire Summer League answering every single one of those questions, on the biggest stage possible, while wearing the purple and gold. The only question left though, and this is the one that actually matters going into October, is whether any of this will translate when the real season starts. Because here's where we have to be completely real about what Adou Thiero still is and what he still isn't. The biggest obstacle in his way is his 3-point shooting, because he shot a rough 26.5% from deep across his 3 college seasons. And yeah, I know you want to bring up the fact that he shot 1 for 1 from deep in the Summer League finale, but one attempt is not a sample size. That's a single moment. In an NBA system built entirely around Luka Doncic attacking the paint and kicking the shooters on the perimeter, a wing who cannot consistently threaten from outside permits defenses to ignore him completely. And the moment defenses can ignore him, they can collapse on Luka, take away Kessler's lob opportunities, and make the entire offense predictable. The concern is real, and the amazing Summer League numbers do not make it disappear. Then there's the question of whether his game works in a half-court system. Everything Thiero does best, from transition finishing to the cutting and the defensive chaos he creates, happens in open space at high speed. The NBA playoffs run through half-court execution and grinding defensive possessions, where athleticism matters less and decision-making matters more. Playing 6 minutes a game last season did not give anyone nearly enough information about how he handles those situations. Plus, the injury history is still there. He dealt with knee problems back in college and missed his entire first Summer League. His father's career ended on the same body part. The family history alone should make everyone at least a little cautious about projecting a long, healthy career. However, everything I just talked about is secondary, because like I said earlier, the kid just shot 48.5% from the field, averaged over 2 steals a night, led the team to 5 straight victories, and capped it off with a perfect shooting night in the finale. Keep in mind that right now, this is the most scrutinized roster in basketball. He's 22 years old and still getting better every single game. So his parents came from Mali with nothing but basketball dreams and watched injuries take everything. Now their son is out there going completely undefeated in Las Vegas while proudly wearing a Lakers jersey. So let me know in the comments, was Adou Thiero the most disrespected player of the 2025 draft class? Or did those 28 teams actually see something the Lakers missed?